we go.
Yeah, it's only an hour and a half later than usual. This is going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Welcome, everybody.
Yes, before we get too far into anything, I have a little surprise for Tom. He doesn't even know this yet.
I like surprises.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yes. We are expecting our fourth child, and we can officially announce it.
Congrats!
Yeah. Thank you.
That is super exciting.
It is. We
I'm
told
so
our
glad
oldest.
She's still putting out for you. I wouldn't let you stick that dinger in.
Wait,
congratulations.
Oh, it's not mine.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, see? There's an explanation for everything.
So this is going to be twinsies, and that'll make 5, right?
We will die if it's twins. Dear Lord,
wow, that's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Was this something you guys were trying for, and it happened, or just you weren't not trying and it happened?
Don't throw double negatives at me.
It's the best.
Always 4 has always been the plan.
Okay, nice.
So that's another reason why if it's twins, we'll die.
I sure hope it's twins. I hope you get the 5.
Should have been twins last time.
Nice,
so,
man.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Wow.
Don't know what we're having yet, but we're right at the stage where we can tell people. So of course,
probably a baby is my guess.
That's my best guess too. $5 is you're wrong. And then, we told our oldest, and I'm pretty sure the next day she was like, sorry, I told everybody. So.
You want to know what's funny about that? When we hung up with the recording last week, our guest Angie texted me and asked if you were expecting a baby.
Oh, yeah?
No, I just thought that'd be a fun little touch.
That would be a fun little touch.
That would have been super cool.
Platonic only.
Well, that is exciting. Thank you for sharing some good news. I needed that. That was good. That was fun.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy for you guys.
Yes.
And I'm so glad it's you, not me, because I can't handle a 4th one.
Or a 5th, it sounds like you're just wishing this upon me.
Yeah, I'm wishing 5 on you because I want the drama. I want the spectacle of it all.
Oh, yeah, good.
I figure if you have enough children, it'll be so expensive, you'll have to move out here and take the high-paying job, with my company and be closer to me. I'm trying to leverage you now with so many kids you have to move out here.
So that was you?
It's not me. No, I've been snipped. I can't get anybody pregnant. It's not me.
Oh, I wasn't thinking that, but way to make it weirder.
That's what I do.
No, there was we went to one of those, parent parties they have at the beginning for our school, like pretty much every year. And the hosts for the one party this year, they have 8 kids. So we're definitely, there's going to be no like sitcoms coming our way or anything like that based on us. There's plenty of other fodder around here.
Yeah, some of our best friends up here have like 5, 4. It's us by having 3. We're on the lower end of the curve with our friends up here, but it's really about all we can handle. We started later, and it's what we can handle.
3's definitely more for here, I think, for most people. I mean, a lot of people, 3's not like crazy, but 4 people are like, oh.
I remember a girl in Newport News who was 22 and she was pregnant with her 5th.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. Yep. She was happy about it.
That's what we call ambition.
She was going to give that baby a happy home. She was happy.
Good.
Are we ready to take a darker turn?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Halloween season, baby.
Yeah.
Love it. We've got some Patreon stuff coming up. I recorded 2 today. They'll be popping up here. One of them is another Farsight video where they're remote viewing and discovering the origins of the moon. So it ties into my lunacy odds a little bit. And then I've got a Halloween one that's popping up. Probably release that next Monday. I recorded that today as well. And then I've got another one here that I had originally intended as an oddita, but we're going to talk about it tonight. And we're going to make another Halloween-themed story with a little bit of storytelling with some urban legends. Who doesn't like to be spooked on Halloween, right?
Everybody. Yeah, well, and I was just going to say, too, I occasionally think about the Farsight folks. They're working really hard to keep coming up with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And seance themselves into hour-and-a-half recordings like every month or week or whatever for this.
This one was a 2-hour plus recording, and I sat and did the whole thing on the Patreon. It's a 2-hour recording of how the moon came to be.
You know what I mean? Like they're really like they're doing it. This is a real time commitment for multiple people. Must be working for them.
Dr. Courtney Brown working real hard at something.
A for effort. Can't question their work ethic, that's for sure.
There were some really good quotes on this one that I wanted to save. Just some that were so knuckleheaded and brain dead. It was just like, really? Did you just say that? And then some that were, pretty darn good. But yeah, listen to that one on the Patreon. It's a fun one. It's 2 hours. I kept my criticism and my comments to a minimum so you can mostly enjoy the video, and then gave my thoughts at the end.
Scott Adams says that when you're given multiple explanations for something, you should pick the one that's most entertaining because that's the most likely scenario for just the universe. And
Yeah.
so, like, if there are actual lizard people, Courtney Brown has to be one of them because that would be the most entertaining.
Yes, it
Has to
would.
be.
One of the remote viewers did remote view reptilian people on the Earth as they created the moon and then put it in place. It was a very sinister viewing. I think she was the very last one to do her viewing. It was very sinister and dark, but the
Okay, good.
reptilians were clearly involved. So that's good.
With the moon.
With the moon. Well, it's a soul trap that they use to
Oh, yeah,
a
that's right. I forgot.
yeah,
Like the bug
they
light.
affect our emotions with it so that they can feed off the negative energies. And then when we die, the moon captures our spirit and our soul, stops it from going into the universe where it's supposed to, and sends it back to Earth for like a reincarnation so they can just keep farming us
Oh,
over and over.
that's the bug lamp. I thought he said originally that they were just stations. So I didn't realize the moon was it.
Oh, yeah. The moon is the recycling machine. Yep.
Oh,
Yep. There's a,
so it's green.
I may have never
That's for-
published. Yeah. I may have never published the second lunacy one either now that I think about it, where I talked
No,
about all that
there
stuff.
you did.
I might have like 4 odds popping up next week, which is good because we're way behind in that content. But Patreon content firing off, going off this week. While my wife is home with a pretty severe concussion recovering, I've got nothing better to do. So I'm recording odds while she sleeps all day. Anyway, let's tell some spooky stories because they're the best and it's Halloween season. And once this
Guy.
passes, Doug's not going to let me be creepy and dark and weird anymore. So,
Yeah, except for prison reform.
oh, we got one of those too. Yep, you're right. That's going to be after Halloween, and I'm excited for that one. Have you ever heard of the Bunny Man?
No.
The Bunny Man. Do you remember the creepy clown scare that we had a few years back that got like super sensationalized and
Yeah,
people
it
were
was like
dressing up in clown
10 years
costumes?
ago and that people it seemed like there were clowns everywhere,
So you take that
in
and
a
you
bad
take the
way.
old hook hand man urban
Hmm.
legend, and I
Okay.
think the Bunny Man might be the origin for some of that. So I
Really?
wrote these to be told in sort of like campfire story format. So this is going to be a little different than what I would normally do. It's not really meant to be dialogue. So forgive it if it's a little bit like folklore style, campfire, spooky story style. The Bunny Man started it with a road outside of Clifton, Virginia, which is not too far from where I lived. The road looks like any other 2-lane strip in the world as long as the sun is up. It's just a strip of road that passes a strand of trees that has literally been there for a century. It crosses the old rail cut. It it slips under this low concrete sort of a bridge, one archway that it crosses under. And folks in the area who don't know any better just kind of drive through it every single day and forget about it. But the folks who know the story of the Bunny Man slow down whenever they come to this one particular bridge. There are certain rules that they play by in this area. They don't roll the windows down when they drive through. They don't look into the shadow under the bridge. There's a superstition that, kind of sticks in all their brains. It gets passed around a lot, and it's become this really fascinating urban legend that's based on a real story. Years back in 1970-ish, a boy named Mark borrowed his uncle's car, a dented Monte Carlo that smelled like oil and menthols, as he would once say. Speedometer needle didn't work when he pushed the gas pedal, the tire shivered, the car frame rattled when he pushed it too hard. But it was an old Monte Carlo, and he was borrowing it because why do you borrow your uncle's car, Douglas?
To go buy beer
Oh, because you got a girl.
and beer.
Well, okay, and beer, but he was a teenager, so beer is likely, but not necessarily, a thing. But he was taking his girl up to the bridge because it was their makeout spot. He turns off where Guinea Road kind of loses its nerve and narrows down into a 1-lane road, pulled over between the big, thick black trees and kind of parked right beside that bridge. The girl in the car said that it was a dare, that she had dared him to go and park there and that was where they were going to go because she wanted to see how brave he could be. And there was a story. There was already a story about a crazy man on the bridge. The Bunny Man Bridge is what they called it. And on the dare, he took the Monte Carlo under the overpass and he killed the headlights and he killed the engine. And then they stared into the shadows. And they say that it's not that there's no sound in this tunnel. It's not that it's silent and spooky. It's that every sound is sharper. Every sound has a meaning, they say. The cicadas are louder and crisper, and they don't just sing, they have a conversation. They try to tell you something. The leaves don't rustle and crackle. The leaves warn you that you're somewhere you're not supposed to be. Animals in the area, a fox might step on a twig to crack it and alert you to danger out there. A deer might kick something over and run away instead of being nimble to force you to pay attention to what's going on. There's a lot happening that was alerting these kids allegedly to the dangers under this bridge. And Mark didn't care because Mark was a teenage boy under a dark bridge in a dark car with a girl. So he did what boys do, and he put his hand up under the girl's skirt on her leg, and he started making out with the girl. And then they heard the noises change. The insects stopped, the wind kind of sharpened, and they heard footsteps. And they stopped, and they looked around in the dark, and they froze, and still everything stopped again. They didn't hear any more. The footsteps stopped. And then they thought they heard a truck. And then they thought they heard the wind, and they decided they were imagining things. So they went back to making out and necking. And then they heard something like a barn door banging, is how they described it. Barn door banging under a bridge doesn't make a ton of sense, so it stopped them. They froze in place. Windows got rolled down, listening. And then they heard a scrape, like metal skidding across something rough. Concrete or a roadway, they said. And it came from beyond the windshield. They said it sounded as though it was coming from in front of the car, under the bridge, and echoing off the walls around them. They said it sounded as though there was a scraping and something heavy being dragged across pavement. Eventually, they freaked out, turned the car back on. Or I'm sorry, they freaked out, and she told Mark to turn the car back on. But he couldn't. He didn't want to be scared in front of his girl. He had already come out here on this dare. He wanted to be the brave guy. So instead of turning the car on, he just kind of leaned forward and tried to look out the car. He couldn't see anything. To try to make himself look real big and brave, he stuck his head out the window, tried to see what was in front of the car, and the sound got louder and louder and closer, and eventually he lost his mind. He called hello in this squeaky, breaking voice, is how she described it. And a shape actually stepped forward out of the shadows, close enough even in the dark to be seen. A big man dressed in white, like a dirty white, like an insane asylum straitjacket is how they described it, with the sleeves unbound. It was dirty. It was filthy. The girl described this man. His head was wrong. It was too round up top. The skull was almost pointed at the top instead of being round where it was supposed to be. And Mark lost his mind. Turned the car on, thought the man was some creep in a hood, turned the car on, hit the gas, took off in the car. As they're going by the man, there was a metal scraping sound, not something being dragged this time, but like something was banging down low and being forced into something rough. He says that when they drove out, he thought there was a blade being driven across the edge of his car. And as he's trying to get past this guy, he didn't drive through him. He's still trying to drive around him. They said as they drove past this man, the shape screamed at them. They said they got by close enough with the lights on, shining off the walls. They could see the man's odd-looking face. They could see a grin on his mouth. And they heard him scream, "You're trespassing. You hear me? You're on my private property." They hit the gas. Once they got clear of this guy, Mark took the Monte Carlo and absolutely floored it. And they got out of this bridge like a bat out of hell. Rode back into town. When they told people about the story, they talked about stains on the man's clothes that didn't make sense, stains at the wrists and at the knees, a blade in his hand, things that Mark says he didn't see, but when they started talking together, this sort of mass hysteria took them and they had all these details. And then someone looked down at the side of the car after they had stopped and saw a hatchet buried behind the rear door on the left side of the car. So that's why I think that this had something to do with the Hookman legend. The story, if you go ahead and track back the historical orange of it, historical orange, clearly I'm tired. If you look at the historical origins of this, there is actually a case that this is based on that started this urban legend, and there have been copycat people perpetuating it almost ever since as pranks, doing wicked things. So no one knows if this story with Mark and his girlfriend is real, or if it's just a couple of kids in a crazy urban legend, or if it's just a campfire story that, was taken too far. But what we do know really happened was that in Fairfax County, Virginia, in October of 1970, so just before Halloween, it was October 19th, a U.S. Air Force Academy cadet and his fiancee were parked on Guinea Road under the bridge when a man in a white suit with long bunny ears yelled at them for trespassing. He charged the car with no provocation and literally threw a hatchet through their car window while they were parked. Police recovered the hatchet, investigated it. You can find pictures of this thing as evidence that was collected, but there were no other leads and no other sightings, so they closed the case for a lack of evidence. About 10 days later, just before Halloween, a construction security guard reported a man in a bunny costume chopping at a porch post with an axe at an unoccupied house and threatening to chop off the heads of people that were wandering by. That incident was also investigated, but never solved. After the second incident, reports and rumors started multiplying. Much like the clown issue that we saw about 5-10 years ago, everybody started seeing the Bunny Man. Now, Bunny Man Bridge is a real thing. It's the story's focal point. It's where the story is usually located, but there are homes around the area that also mention him. And there have actually been people pulled over, I won't say arrested. What I saw was it appeared as though they were interviewed. There were people of interest who were parading around the area in the dark with no lights in white, long, insane asylum style or bunny style outfits, lurking in bushes and woods, presumably there to keep this ghost story going and haunt and scare the crap out of people just for the hell of doing it. What do you think, Doug? What would you do if you saw the Bunny Man?
So, first things first. For a long time, our second child used to say oranges as orangin, which is really fitting for orange and origin.
Yep.
So we tried to keep that one going for a while. I mean, actually, for the whole first half of the story, all I could think about was that the Supernatural episode with the Hookman, and it was
Yeah.
just like that exact thing, probably a little bit taller, but same kind of thing, like little road along the gorge,
Yeah.
bridge, Hookman scratching the side of the car,
That
ghost
was a
kind of deal.
great episode, too.
It was pretty good, yeah.
I feel like the best Supernatural episodes are the ones that deal with like well-known urban legends, and that was one of the really good ones.
No, well, this I don't know. Like if I saw him, I wouldn't be hanging out under a bridge though, so I'd never see him.
Teenage me would have been. Teenage me would have, if it was a good makeout spot, I probably would have been there.
Yeah, I probably would have been too. But I mean, I don't know. If I was convinced that there was an actual other person there, I would be ready to get out of there because I'd just assume cops or something at the very
Yeah.
minimum. Like I'm there to not be witnessed. So if anybody's gonna witness me, I'm gonna get out of there.
My thought on this one is the same thought that I always had when people were intentionally dressing in clown costumes and trying to mess with people and trying to get that reaction. My thought is that, man, you picked the wrong car, you picked the wrong person, especially in Virginia, someone's going to shoot you. Like, I mean, if someone sees you with a hatchet and they're coming at you and they're carrying, you've got a real chance of getting shot over this prank. And that just always feels to me like that line. That's the line I don't want to cross when I'm pulling a prank, is one where somebody might shoot me, you know?
Well, and I mean, like there could be a very real case behind this. We didn't like the 70s. I mean, you still had some of those, especially on some of those older city areas. You still had some of those old asylums that were still open into the 90s and
Yeah.
early aughts. So it is possible to have someone who got out wandering and who, is a real actual crazy person that would do something like this. And all it takes is one good story like that.
Yeah.
And
And someone did
of
throw a
course,
hatchet through that guy's windshield. That's an actual police case.
right. And then they probably would run into the woods because they're crazy. And you might not see them again because they're crazy.
Yeah.
And now you have your legend and now you have an imitators. They almost got Zodiac.
Yeah. Yeah. Legitimately
I was
almost got
listening
Zodiac.
to that. I'm like, this sounds exactly like that too.
It's pretty darn close. I hadn't thought of that.
Mm.
All right. Ready for your second one? I'm going to travel a little bit on this one. We're going to leave the States. We're going to go to Nigeria.
Oh, I'm less familiar with there.
I thought you might be. This one's called Madam Koi Koi. They say every boarding school has a sound that belongs only to it and is unique to the spirit of that particular boarding school. Some schools, it's the sound of a generator thrumming through the night and through the day. Others, it's the night watchman's whistle or the creak of ceiling fans that never stop turning. But in certain corners of Nigeria, what students remember isn't the sound of machines. It's not a sound of men or whistles. It's the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, echoing down dormitory corridors after lights out. And they say the sound they make is koi, koi, koi. Ask anyone who went to boarding school in Nigeria, and they'll tell you that name in a whisper. It's Madam Koi Koi. The story starts in different ways depending on what part of Nigeria you're hearing it from. Some say Madam Koi Koi was once a beautiful teacher who loved her red heels more than anything. Some say she was a prefect. She was tall and proud, the kind of woman who believed respect was best derived through fear. What everyone agrees on is the sound that her heels made when they clicked on tile was koi, 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 and that clicking announced her long before she turned a corner. Most versions say she was cruel. She would beat students for whispering, for mispronouncing her name, for walking too slow in the crowded hallways. The girls in her dorm learned to dread the cadence of her walk the way that prisoners learn the sound of keys on guards. One night, after she had caned a girl until her palms bled, the other students decided they'd had enough. They waited until she patrolled the hall, until they heard her red shoes clicking closer and closer. They slipped from their bunks, took broom handles, mop handles, and other blunt instruments they'd hidden, and they met her at the end of the corridor. Some say they pushed her and she fell, breaking her neck as it snapped against the floor. Some say that she attacked them and slipped in her own rage, with the heel of one of her shoes breaking and her getting impaled through the eye on the heel as she fell. Some say the kids beat her brutally and mercilessly to death, dragged her outside and left her in the courtyard for everyone to see. Everyone agrees that by morning, she was gone. Every version of the story has her disappearing at night, the body disappearing before dawn, no sense of the bloody remnants of Madame Koi Koi. Weeks later, a girl wakes her roommates in the dark. She had heard something outside the dorm, and she told her, "I think it's Madame Koi Koi." The dorm laughs at her until the noise came again. It was a single heel, dragging just a little bit, moving up the corridor toward their door. They locked the door, of course. Some of them started whispering prayers. But doors in schools like that are mostly cheap wood. They're not really meant to be sturdy and sound. And around midnight, there was a click in the lock, and the handle started turning. It turned and twisted once, twice, and it stopped. The door opened just a crack, and then it stopped. They waited and they listened, and they heard a long, teacher-like, disappointed sigh echo in through the door and sort of bounce off the walls in the room. Nothing else happened. The door remained open. All the kids remained in their beds, horrified. In the morning, when the sun came up and they dared leave the room, there were red footprints dotting the hallway. Didn't lead to anyone's particular room, didn't lead to anyone's particular shoes. It literally started at the door at the end of the corridor and ended at their door. Years later, those girls would tell that same story to younger students. Sometimes the heels would change color, sometimes the name on Madame Koi Koi would change, but every generation insisted that they heard the click, click, click of the heels as she walked down the hallway, that the doorknob turned, the door opened, and they heard sort of a hissing, disappointing sigh. Every generation also added a little something to the story. Some of them added a punishment for answering when she called. Some of them added a rumor that her ghost was following girls who broke the rules. Some of them said that her ghost was following the daughters and the sons of the kids that had brutally murdered her in the hallway. In some schools, teachers were smart about this, and they used her to enforce the curfew. They would actually tell their students, "Sleep now before Madame Koi Koi comes for the late ones." And they used them to scare students to bed and lights out. You can still find students in Nigeria who will swear to you that they've heard her. You can find them on YouTube. You can find documentaries where they've talked about it in interviews. They will talk about the footsteps on nights when the generator died, when the fans slowed and silence made every single sound amplified. They say they can smell polish, that sharp tang of leather cleaner, and hear the click, click, click of her shoes. That doors will open, that a scolding sound will be whispered or sometimes shouted into the rooms, and that no one is there. There's never running, there's never rushing. It's just that one broken heel clicking down the hallway. No one has ever seen her, at least not directly. There are lots of claims that contradict each other. Sometimes she's described as a beautiful woman, sometimes as a bloody woman, something like a zombie, just beaten and bruised and bleeding all over the place. Sometimes a woman with a heel broken off and stuck in one eye. They all sort of change this description to fit their own story and adapt what they were told by the previous generation. They still say in schools in Nigeria that if you hear her, don't move. Don't call out. You press your palms together, you pray, and you wait until the sound fades. Because if she stops outside your door, it means that she remembers you or she remembers one of your parents and what they did to her, and that she will patiently wait for someone to break the rule and get out of bed while she's waiting. That's the fun part of the story. The historical explanation, it's a piece of West African school folklore. Nigeria and Ghana are where it's most prevalent, but there's also variations of it pretty much anywhere that you've got an English-speaking population in Africa. The
This feels like
Khoikhoi,
Scooby-Doo.
it kind of does, yeah. The story dates back to the 60s and 70s-ish, when government and boarding schools became a real thing, when they became much more popular and people were forced to go. There was probably a real woman that this is based upon, although it hasn't been confirmed yet as to which one. There's a couple of different stories. But anthropologists say that, around this time, there were a lot of anxieties about discipline and authority, especially as dictated from women and female in these schools in that area, because that sort of thing hadn't happened before. This is sort of the rise of feminism started happening at this time. So people were, it kind of, we've seen similar things throughout history. When they start gaining power, people speak against it and rise against it. And often now she's used as sort of a warning against rebellion in the school. There's no actual documented case of any teachers being dragged down and beaten to death with broom handles in a Nigerian school, although we probably wouldn't have heard of that anyway. But I like this story because schools to this day are still using it to get students to obey lights out, to go to bed on time, and to sort of squash any thoughts they have of rebelling against authority. That's Madam
Cool.
Kwekwe.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, especially considering a lot of these are probably older wooden buildings, so anything cracking, creaking, expanding, contracting in the middle of the night will just be every single person will hear it, and all it takes is like two to be kind of close to each other for you to be like,
Yep. Especially if you're a kid and, it's
right,
dark and yeah, it doesn't take much to get that imagination going in the dark, right?
right.
I've got one more, and we're going to go even further east. We're going to go all the way to Japan for this one.
Ooh,
We're going to talk about Hanako San.
ah,
This is sort of like the Japanese Bloody Mary, if you will.
mm-hmm. Oh,
A
I've heard
lot.
of this one. This is good.
Oh, good. A lot of similar tropes, a lot of similar storytelling here. But if you like Bloody Mary, you'll like Hanako San. In Japan, every child knows at least one rule about school bathrooms. You never go alone into a school bathroom after sunset, especially into the third stall on the third floor. You never go to that stall. And
This
if
is one
someone,
floor above Moaning Myrtle, by the way.
yes, it is. If someone dares you to knock, you do it exactly 3 times. You never knock a fourth time. The story of Hanako-san begins in, say, the echo of old buildings. For some reason, that's how I wrote that out. These buildings were built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They were built with wood, with polished floors where you could smell the polish. Rain would come in and leave a scent inside the building. And after classes, when the teachers had gone home and the students had maintained the building and mopped the floors and polished the floors and cleaned up, the hallways were long and empty and quiet. And they were so clean and so well maintained that as you walked, you could hear your own shoes squeaking on them. I envision a basketball court with a new pair of shoes. That's the best sound. They say you could hear the wind pushing at the windows. You can hear the rain on the roof from the second and third floor down. And sometimes you could hear breathing where there shouldn't be any. In one spring afternoon, 1948, Japan was still sweeping away the dust of war. 3 students stayed behind to clean. The building was once a hospital. It had been converted to a school as they rebuilt the city. And the youngest girl of the 3, Eiko, was small and very eager to please. She was the sort who believed that courage could be proven and that would demonstrate her value. This is a very traditional belief in Japan, one that she likely inherited from her parents. And of the group of schoolgirls who didn't respect her currently, she felt that perhaps one day she'd have the chance to be brave and earn their respect. So this particular evening, as they stayed late to clean, the other girls dared her to go knock on Hanako's door. She didn't know what they were talking about, so she asked, "Who's Hanako?" And they smiled, and they told her that she died in there, pointing toward a bathroom stall. They said during the air raids, she was hiding in the 3rd stall. If you knock 3 times and ask if she's there, she'll answer you. Eiko thought it was silly, but the dare had been made, and she wanted to be brave. So she carried her bucket down the empty hall. Her shoes slipped and squeaked on the waxed floor. Her hand trembled and splashed water behind her. The windows all along the hall were black mirrors, showing her reflection. To her, showing a twitching, nervous face, but hopefully to the other girls, showing a face of bravery. She got to the bathroom, the door half open, bucket still in hand, and stepped inside. The light above her flickered once when she stepped in the door, then steadied. 3 stalls, plain, narrow, made of wood, awaited her. Their wooden doors were painted white many, many years ago, but had now chipped to gray. She counted them with her heart in her throat. 1, 2, 3. She thought about knocking. She willed herself to knock, and she raised her hand. It shook in front of her face, but out of a need to be brave, she knocked anyway. Knock, knock, knock. "Hanako San," she whispered. "Are you there?" Her voice was answered with silence. She could hear her heart beating in her chest. She could hear the wind pushing at the windows, but she heard nothing else. She let out a nice deep breath, a sigh of relief, and then she heard, "Yes, I am." She turned and she ran. She dropped the bucket, it clattered down the hall, and her friends laughed as she burst out of the bathroom. She was pale, she was breathless, her whole body was trembling. But they all stopped when they saw the hem of her uniform. Her skirt was wet and streaked with what looked like muddy water, though the water in her bucket had been clean and she hadn't gone anywhere near a dirty water source. After that, a rumor spread through the school. Some said Eiko vanished that night. Others said she never spoke again. The teachers ignored it, but the janitor quit 2 weeks later. Decades passed, schools changed, walls were rebuilt, but Hanako San stayed. Every new building inherited her stall the way a house inherits a foundation. Every few years, the story would evolve, the story would change. Sometimes she wore a red skirt, sometimes her hair covered her face, sometimes she reached from the toilet to pull you in. That's horrible. But the rules never changed. 3 knocks, 1 question, 1 answer. You can find her in hundreds of schools all across Japan now. Kids now tell the story like it's a game, a dare whispered between giggles, similar to Bloody Mary here in America. But when they tell it, they lower their voices at the end, because a joke that's lasted 70 years stops being funny, I guess that's 80 years almost, when you realize it's older than your grandparents. The students say that Hanako-san isn't angry. They say she's lonely, like Myrtle, like your girl. The bombing that killed her turned her hiding place into a coffin. The school was rebuilt over her grave, and they called it a classroom. Every time someone knocks, she answers, because that's what children do when someone knocks at a door, when someone remembers them. But they say that 3 knocks, there's always 1 voice, and that it's always a polite, "Yes, I am." Hanako-san of the toilet is how you will actually find this if you search academic records, is one of Japan's best-known modern urban legends. It appeared nationwide by the 50s, and it was thriving through the 80s and 90s. She belongs to a tradition of a word that I am going to absolutely butcher, Uriai, which is the restless spirits. It's often depicted of the ghost of a young schoolgirl who died during air raids in World War II. Sometimes it's a young schoolgirl who died in a bullying incident or a school accident, but always it's a young girl who was innocent and was a victim and did nothing to bring on her own fate. This story, just like Bloody Mary, grew through oral storytelling and eventually found its way into magazines and then TV and anime and manga. It became a story that was told oftenly through those mediums. Scholars will tell you that the story may very well be real, that it may very well be based on a girl who really did die during an air raid and somebody wanted to preserve her memory, and that it simply was shaped and twisted after that, the way things will evolve when kids tell them. But they believe that the number of kids who died during air raids in this situation, it was a tragedy that was discussed often and frequently across the country, and that it may be based on real trauma. However, it's been changed. And now, not only does this sort of reflect their post-war trauma, their fear of death in sort of ordinary places and their anxiety about, simply being a victim without having provoked it, now it's gone into something greater. Now it echoes Shinto and Buddhist practices of calling spirits and the American urban legend of summoning Bloody Mary. It's all reframed in sort of this child's dare. And it's a story that Japanese children will still tell to this day. But as mentioned earlier, they do it in a lower voice and they do it with a little bit of reverence and respect, which is not a way that we tell the Bloody Mary story here in America. Those are my 3 urban legends for Halloween episode.
Disagree. The first time I heard about Bloody Mary, I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. Are you kidding me? I'm not stupid. It's like, well, poker guy.
Yeah.
What's your payoff? There's literally no benefit to this either way. There's only bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's only bad. There's no winning.
Right. I like stuff like that though too, because like the number 3 is just throughout that. So definitely some sort of cultural or whatever, significance to that number that, and honestly, I made the moaning Myrtle joke, but there's a non-zero chance that Rowling came across this and tried to loop it in because it is sort of magical, whimsical, whatever. I mean, that's exactly what happened to Moaning Myrtle, the basilisk. She saw the basilisk in the reflection, I think of the water in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And that's why she died in the stall, basically.
I don't think she ever reached up from the toilet and tried to grab you while you were peeing, though.
I don't think so.
That was the scariest version of that whole story to me because, you're just sitting down doing your business and all of a sudden a hand reaches up and grabs you. That's going to startle you. That's going to pucker your butt.
Not going to pucker it.
Oh, I want to talk about the CERN one too. You remember the CERN ritual? Did you ever pay attention to that one when it popped up about 10 years back?
No? What?
Oh, man. So the Hadron Collider at CERN.
Oh, well, yeah. That's what I first thought, but then you said the CERN ritual, and I'm like, I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, so 2016 at the CERN Collider. A lot of people were already, speculating and putting all these conspiracy theories out. Actually, there's one that you sent me we still have to talk about it. What was it?
Oh, it's a hoax.
It's still fun. Yes, this definitely was a hoax.
Yeah. I really love the CERN theories about like multiverse though. Like it'd be
there's some good ones. You sent me a good article we still need to talk about. But some people literally just posted a video on the grounds of CERN, standing in front of the Indian goddess statue. I think it was Shiva. I don't have that part in front of me, but I think it was Shiva.
Lord Shiva statue, yeah.
Yep. And there was a group of people, 2016, they posted it, and they were literally wearing robes, and there was a woman lying at the base of the Shiva statue in front of them, and they pulled out a knife, and they brought down the knife to strike at her as like a ritualistic sacrifice, and she screamed, and then it cut to black and disappeared. And that was the whole video. That was all that they posted. And people recognized it who looked at it as the CERN Hadron Collider. And it caused a real big stir for all of about 24 hours where people said, oh no, they opened some kind of a portal to another world, something dark at CERN, and they're sacrificing something to Shiva here at the CERN grounds, the CERN Hadron Collider. And CERN came out like the next day and released a press release that said, that was not us. That was not real. Someone did do that on our property, but we did not authorize it. And then eventually they came out and said it was a hoax and it was just something they were doing for fun for Halloween. But there was a huge national movement for, a little while that didn't believe them. and they decided that there was some sort of occultist portal opening and ritual sacrifice happening at the CERN Hadron Collider. And it was really, really fun for probably about a week to see some of the conspiracy theories that grew out of that, because the video was pretty well done. It was a real grainy, shaky, like Blair Witch style camera holding it, and they did a really nice job of giving you just enough to make you go, "What the fuck? What did I just see?"
I found a article with the video. Just watch it. It's like a minute long.
Yeah, yeah,
While you were talking, it's here. Let me put it in here so we can save it, add it
yep.
for later.
Put that
But
in the
yeah,
notes.
it's not bad. I mean, it's very.
Good. I thought it was good.
I mean, it's pretty good. But well, you know how I am. It's only a minute, and I'm like, there's nobody in the frame at the start, and then like five people show up, walk in, like take off the robe, do their thing, and then like done. And then right when the stab happens, whoever's operating the camera is like, oh, like shaking
Yep.
it.
I feel like looking at it, anybody with a grain of sense is going to know it's not real.
It's going to be like, oh, well, someone just happened to be filming from right here at this rooftop spot,
Right.
and then was shocked when it happened. And these
But
people just, I mean, at least for cultists, they really didn't do a lot of the formal. They're not very orthodox. They just got right down to business and did it. They didn't have any like chants or
yeah.
incense or praise or
Well,
prayers or
for all we
anything. They
know,
just
they
kind of did
walked
it.
into our world through a portal at the collider. I mean, they're not from this world, so why are they going to pay attention to our traditions? You know, maybe they come from a world where everything
They
is done short and sweet, and
they
it's quite
also happen to
possible.
be perfectly human looking and also happen to wear perfectly human looking clothes
Yeah.
and otherwise mirror cult human
What
things.
What's always fun with something like that is going and seeing the comments after and going through someone's comments. That's always the best. It's
It
just
is good.
sometimes the best entertainment is in the things that people propose in the comment section. All right. Well, there we have my odd that's been transformed into a podcast episode.
Yay.
I wish I'd had more. I wish I'd done a little bit more research, a little more homework, and had a couple more off kilter urban legends. But gosh, I love Halloween. I love stories like this. I just do.
There's always time. Can always pick one or two throughout the year just for funsies.
And I am not opposed to that. You want to get
No.
to updates?
Oh yes, let's get to updates. So the first one, Tom, this one pains me, but I thought of you, so I have to tell it. We have swim lessons that we're doing like sort of it's called Swim America. It's like a program around here for swim lessons for kids. We've been, trying to find good swim lessons for the kiddos and ran into someone who was just like, "Oh, you should do Swim America. Your kids will be swimming in like, a couple of weeks." We're like, "Okay, whatever." And side note, it's actually true. They clearly use like swim team kids as sort of the instructors, and they just like do quick like 30-40 minute group
Nice.
lessons. And it's funny because they're older kids, like 14 to 17-year-olds, the little kids like listen to them more than a
Yep.
regular adult. So they're actually doing more stuff. Like it's two practices and they're like, holy shit, like our kids are like way better than they
Yeah.
ever were. But we're going to one of these practices. Our local spot that does it is this like old like community pool across from one of the schools. And so, like how you have your just road that runs residential road that kind of runs between your school and other stuff. And you have
Yeah,
like
it's where the bunny man
parking.
lives. Yeah.
Yeah, but away from the bridge. The there's the parking like right there, like against the road. It's not like on the road per se. It's just a little indent, between like off the road from the building. You know what I'm talking about? Where if you're
Yeah.
backing up, you're immediately into traffic.
Yep.
You know, so I'm I dropped them off, pulled around, and then I'm in like the middle turn lane and I'm waiting to back into one of these spots just to actually park the car and walk in there. And there's a little gap. I wait for the one guy behind me to go by and I start backing in. There was a couple cars coming the other way. And, I didn't have a lot of space, but this is like a little pocket. Like I'm just going to do it. And, most people, if they see, will slow down and just kind of let me, finish backing in real quick. Well, this motherfucker doesn't slow down at first and drives like right up to my car. I mean, like a foot or two away, like to the point where I'm actually thinking he might actually hit me. Like, just, I
Yep.
don't know. Like, he
Yep.
clearly saw me. Like, I could see that he saw me. He slowed down a little bit, but then decided to keep going. comes right, and now I just stopped. I'm like, well, I'm not going to get out of the way in time if he actually hits me. I decided I'm just going to sit there and let him hit me, I guess, if he really wants to. Make it maybe clearly his fault. I don't know.
And it's funny. I almost did the same thing the other day to let someone hit me just so I could fucking rip one off.
Right.
Bridget chastised me for it. Yep.
So pulls up like a foot away from my car, his car from my car, lays on the horn. Tom, do you care to guess what kind of car it was?
I would. I want to guess Alexis, but since it's you, I'm going to guess it was a Mercedes.
It was a Lexus.
Oh,
That's,
Lexus
that's why.
drivers
That's why.
backing me up.
That's
I
why it.
love how they
That's why
back
it
me up.
pains me.
Yep. I love how they're backing me up on this one.
So the end of the story is that I'm like throwing my hands up right as he honks the horn. Like, really? You're actually gonna honk the horn at me? He throws his hands up, like trying to act all whatever. I roll down the window and I scream, "Is driving hard for you?"
Nice.
And he breaks eye contact. I back into the space and he drives on without even looking at me. So I feel like I won that one. But so I go in, and then here's the kicker. I tell Ivanka this story. Oh, excuse me. Dang it. We're going to have to bleep that one out. I tell my wife that story, and she goes, "Oh, it was probably a Mercedes driver upgrading to a Lexus."
Is that an upgrade, though? That's a step down, I think. I think that's got to be a step down.
Mm. So anyway, that's my Lexus update.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a good Lexus update. I don't know what the guy driving the car that I was mad about was, but it wasn't a Lexus. It wasn't a luxury car of any kind.
Man, I was just right there, though. It's driving hard for you. And he was like, I think he realized that the next step was to get out of the car.
Oh,
So, I mean, I had time. I was already where I was supposed to be. He probably had somewhere to go. So,
yeah. My update piggybacks on the story we did about the kid being in control of the parent. If you recall, we told that story with the karate student who was in charge of his mom and dictated their entire interaction and kind of told her what was up. This one's a little tough for me because there are people locally who are going to hear this and are going to be mad that I'm telling this story because they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about and might feel as though I'm trying to embarrass this person. But I'm going to tell this story because I am mortified at what happened and shocked. And I bit my tongue at practice. So my son had soccer practice this week. And, Desi's had some issues with behavior and stuff, but he's mostly come through all of those. And he's done a great job outgrowing them. We thought there were just going to be a lot of stuff that we had to work through for the long term. And the boy just outgrew it. And he's doing great now. However, he's very sensitive now, like very, very sensitive. It doesn't take much to really make him upset and make him cry. He still feels the big emotions. So he's at soccer practice and he's doing fine. He's doing great. He's having fun. The coach basically was the assistant coach who showed up. The head coach couldn't make it because she was sick. So the assistant coach showed up and his idea for practice was literally just let them play games the whole time. So they played like sharks and minnows and they played some dribbling games. And that was the whole practice session. They had one game left in the season. He just wanted them to run and have fun and enjoy soccer. But his son is one of the players on this team. And his son didn't like when he was eliminated from one of these games. And his son threw a temper tantrum. And his dad, the assistant coach, said, "You need to go." I'm trying to say their names. He said, "You need to go sit down. You're done. You're done." And his boy looked at him and said, "I don't want to," in front of everybody, in front of the whole team. And dad looked at him and said, "Go sit down. You're done. Your attitude is bad and you're not going to be out here until you fix it." Good job, Dad. Pretty good.
Yep. This is so far so good. Yeah.
So far, so good. Yeah. So the kid walks over and kicks his soccer ball all the way off the field, like as far as he can kick it, just to kick it and take his rage out. Okay, he's a kid. That happens. Then he starts stomping his feet and screaming and grunting and gets down on his hands and knees and starts punching the ground. Okay, this is some of the stuff that my boy was doing a couple of years ago. Like, I get this. I know what's happening here. I see this. I'm familiar with it. Okay. Then he walks up and they've got 4 cones set up that set up the boundary for their game. And if you step outside the lines of the cones, you're eliminated. He runs up and kicks a cone and kicks it as far as he can and disturbs the game for everybody else. And his dad looks at him and just shakes his head no. And so he runs over and kicks another cone. And dad just looks at him and then dad gives up And this is the moment where dad starts pretending like he doesn't see it happening. And so the kid goes wild. And
Hmm.
kids that are still playing the game, he's running in and kicking the ball away from them. He's interfering. He's screaming at them. And dad is literally turning his back on this and trying to pretend he's not seeing this. And it was the moment that everything just went sideways. Some of the kids start fixing the cones. The coach acknowledges that and says, "Thank you for fixing that." Finally, he tries to engage again. He says, "You need to get off the field. Go sit down. Your attitude stinks right now." Good job trying to get back in the game, Dad. Nice job. But his kid walks off to the side, and there's a bench, like a bleacher where all the kids sit when they're not playing. And when they're practicing and all the kids are on the field, they sit their water bottles down on this bench. He walks up to it and tips it over and starts kicking his teammates' water bottles all across the grass. And the coach doesn't say a thing. He pretends like he doesn't see it. The rest of the practice is this kid acting out, I think trying to get dad's attention because dad was turning his back on him. And this kid just acting out uncontrollably, ignoring this and denying the kid the attention he's seeking might be a viable strategy in a lot of these cases. It works with my dog. Like that's what I do when he's seeking attention. But this kid
Ah,
was,
yes, the non-human.
yes, but this kid was actively screwing with other kids' stuff. And that's kind of where you have to draw the line. And all I could think this whole time was like, wow, you just let your kid put you in your place. You just let your kid show everyone on this team that you're supposed to be coaching and the parents who are all sitting here just like wide jawed, gaping. You let your kid just show all these people that you are not the boss of him. And I kind of want to know how that carries over when you get home. You can't just be back in control again, right? I don't imagine that ever works out that way. I feel like when you give someone that kind of power over you, when you're supposed to be the authority figure, it's gone, you know? And all I could think of was that episode we talked about where this kid was clearly in control of his dad. My son on the way back to the car asked me, "Daddy, if you were coaching and I acted like him, what would you do?" And I told him,
I would change my registry to say I have 2 kids.
I said I would start by sitting you down on the bench and making you sit alone, kind of like he did. And if you kept it up and you weren't listening to anything else, I would spank your butt in front of your entire team. And my son just turned like scarlet red. Just
Mhm.
just the threat of it is enough that I'll never have to worry about that. And it's kind of a nice feeling because I suspect I'm probably going to be roped into coaching this season for basketball. But just the threat of it was enough to scare the heck out of my kid. But this other kid was just, I mean, it was him saying, "You're not the boss of me," without saying, "You're not the boss of me." And I don't understand how dads and parents let this happen. I just don't get it.
Well, see, you might be right, and I'll admit, I'm actually bad about this as a dad. You're probably right that he was looking for attention,
Yeah.
and at least at some base level, this kid might be lacking somewhere. Maybe he felt like, he was upset and he wanted something to comfort from his dad, and his dad's, busy coaching, and he kinda has this weird brief feeling of, this he treats other people's kids the same as me. I don't know, but
Yeah. No, I think I really, as I was watching it, that's why I put it that way. I feel like that's a big part of it. And I think the best way to handle it, and you can't Monday morning quarterback everything because
well,
thinking about it after the fact is obviously easier than thinking about it in the moment. But I feel like what probably should have happened there is he should have asked another parent to step in and run the game. And he should have gone and sat down with his kid and broke it down for his kid and given him that authoritarian sort of attention and found a way to, to get the kid
yeah.
what he needed and still draw a line, still be in charge. I feel like that would have been the right way to go. But
Well, and the reason I say that, like, I'm bad about this because if it was my kid, I I would not be sitting there thinking, "Oh, he needs more attention."
you're going
I've
0 to 60.
Yeah, I've done this to our oldest before in semi-public things, like school or whatever. I will take her by the arm and kind of, forcefully, like, move her,
Yeah.
to a little bit away so that we can have our little private, talk. And she's tried before the, like, "Ow, you're hurting me," kinda thing, and at first I would say, "No, I'm not," because I know I'm not really, like, "You're just reacting to me
Yeah.
grabbing you." But then I started saying, like, I don't really care if I'm hurting you. And that's how I start the conversation. And that changed the tone real quick. And I think I started saying things to the effect of like, I've already pulled you aside in front of your friends. I have no problem embarrassing you further. You better figure this out real quick, or you're gonna really see what it's like to be disciplined in public.
Yeah.
And that stopped it real quick. And I mean, one could argue I was maybe a little bit too aggressive, but that's I would apologize to the parents and drag my kicking, screaming kid to the car if I had to,
Yeah.
in
I
a
feel like
situation like that.
I feel like it's all about sort of drawing boundaries and establishing boundaries and introducing stakes, letting them know there's a consequence for actions if they don't fix it. And I feel like if you can do those two things, you can usually short circuit that. From now on, I'm just going to talk to my kids about Madame Koi Koi and be like, yo, Madame Koi Koi is going to come for you if you don't knock this shit off right now.
Right. I
And
don't
then I'll
know.
start clicking a single heel up against the wall outside their bedroom. That's going to be the next thing after I tell them about Madame Koi Koi. I'll borrow one of my wife's shoes
This
and
is
like
like the
tap it.
far side where he's like, now go to sleep, Timmy. You're gonna have to knock 3 times and summon the floating head of death again.
Yep. My kids are going to think I'm a skinwalker again and I'm going to lose them for another 2 months.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, I can also understand too with parenting styles or kids or whatever. Like you're also sitting there thinking, just ignore it, let it happen, show them that it doesn't work. I mean, with our youngest, we have he is in a spot where he does some of the tantrum stuff, where he'll just sit there wailing and screaming and pawing at wherever he's at, and I've done the like, I'm just going to ignore this.
Yeah.
It's like 10 minutes later, I'm like, maybe I should stop ignoring this. Like he's got a will, that one. So I mean, it's, I don't know. Like I don't know what you do with that. Like that sort of dovetails with what I was your original story with the karate thing. I kind of had my own 2 cents / thoughts on that too. But go ahead
Yeah.
with anything else you got on this one.
I think at the end of the day, that's again, sort of the bitch of being a dad is there's no one universal answer. They don't come with with an instruction manual. And what's going to work
Right.
for some kids is not going to work for others. Like just at the end of the day, if you're active and you're participating in your kid's life, you're going to figure out the best solution for your kid. But I feel like no matter what that looks like, you need to be the one in control. You need to be the parent. And I see people losing that element of this. And man, this is not going to go well for you as the kid gets older and bigger and stronger and more free willed. This is not going to go well for you. Like you need to be the authoritative figure and the parent before you just don't get that opportunity again.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I do think some of it is also you're just always the parent. Like some of this behavior will self-correct because of peers,
Yeah.
and other stuff. But yeah,
But on the other
I
hand, some of that's going to get, reinforced and amplified by peers. Because if your peers and your friends, if
yeah,
you're that kid and your friends think that that's cool that you stand up to your parents like that, or some of them are similar rebellious parents, like they're going to amplify that and it's going to get worse instead of better. What kind of friends are your kids going to pick if that's the kind of person that he is? They're going to pick other kids that feel the same way or that make him feel good for it, that give him that attention that you didn't give him when he needed it. If they're celebrating this kid for being a dick to their parent and standing up to their parent, that's going to reinforce the wrong behavior and you might really lose your kid.
well, fair. Yeah, I mean, we've always kind of stressed it as like when you grow up, if you keep doing stuff like this, it's not going to be good for you. Try to like simulate the long game.
Yeah.
Like, we're your parent, we're not your friend. We're here to tell you what we think will help you. You might not like it right now, but well, and I was going to say too, my wife calls them software updates, where sometimes like your kid goes to sleep and then they wake up and you're like, this is a different kid.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're learning new ways to deal with them right then and there on the fly. Speaking of no instruction manual.
Yeah.
I wanted to note too, because I was listening to the episode again about the karate lesson and all that stuff, whatever it was, 2 or 3 episodes ago now. And I realized that listening to your description of the event, it didn't allow me to explain. I think based on what you were describing and how it was being portrayed, like I think you were probably correct that, you know, this was a parent that didn't have control of their kid, or the kid at least, they didn't want to, maybe they would have behaved differently at home, but for whatever reason the parent didn't want to act that way in public, for example. But I realized that while you were assuming what you were saying was assuming the mom was powerless, but I've watched my wife sort of do that same thing to our kids. I mean, the outcome was different though, which is why I think, you were correct that this mom was powerless. I thought about the situation. And I realized that literally there have been times where my wife is trying to talk to one of our kids who's kind of being a butt, and it's not working. And for some reason, she's got them to the point where at certain times she can go, all right, and just start walking away. And they're like, like they start freaking out that she's like dismissed them and she's done with them now. Like there's some
Yep.
sort of like, oh my God, mommy's just gonna like abandon us with as we say, with the kunas, with the raccoons in the woods or something. And it works so brilliantly for her. It doesn't really work for me with the girls, but it started to work with my son a
Yeah.
little bit, where I go, okay, and I start walking away and I hear a bigger wail behind me. So it's starting to work too. But I just remember thinking, if you use it right, what she was doing actually works.
Yeah. I
But
guess it.
same thing, depends on the kid. Also
Yeah.
depends on the parent too. I mean,
Yeah.
we're very different, me and my wife, with some of these things. So yeah. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
Bonnie Blue updates can wait till next week. Yeah, I
Sorry,
think we're
John.
good. All right,
No,
John.
I had one more because we had a similar thing to your karate thing. It was about a week ago now, and with my new job, I'm mostly just working at home. I'm not as at the pickup as much anymore. But apparently, there was this kindergartner who was running around with his metal water bottle, like hitting other kids and thinking he was like taunting kids after he hit them on the playground after school. And one of them was, one of the kids in my oldest class, like a second grader. He was sitting on the ground and this kid walked up and just like beamed him in the face, apparently, with this metal water bottle. And then was like, ha ha, I got you, like completely taunting the kid. And what I heard was that the authority figure for this kid was his grandmother. And it sounded like the other parents needed to kind of tell her, "Hey, this kid's like hitting other kids, you know, just so you know," like kind of like prompted the grandmother to go address it. And the report was that this kid was screaming back at the grandmother and like smacking her legs with his hands and stuff like that, and just basically being a butthead to her too. And she was not, grabbing him by the ear or doing anything like that, just telling him that's wrong, and him basically saying like, "Yeah, I don't care."
Huh.
So just was interesting. This was about a week, like whatever that was, a week after you kind of told me your thing, that I first started hearing about this. And all I could think about, because then our oldest is asking us that stuff too. What's going to happen if the kid? She was actually kind of like afraid to go back the next day. She was like, "What if he is there and does that to me?"
Yeah.
And we had to. Our advice was, if you see him, don't pay him any attention. Like, you know, don't engage him. Like, don't go up to him. If he starts coming to you, find a parent you trust, find one of the teachers, just
Yeah.
say, what the kid's doing if he's kind of coming after you. And then I straight up looked at my daughter and I was just like, the school will take care of it. And if they don't take care of it the way we want, we will take care of it. And I
Yeah.
meant me and mommy. And this is why I love my wife. She kind of gave me this look like, yes, we will.
Yeah. It's good that you
And
know she's got your back, right?
well, yeah. And then our oldest went, "What do you mean? How will you take care of it?" And I just said, "Don't worry about that."
Yep. Just don't worry about it. It's been handled.
Yep. Well, I mean, if we're being honest, like I said, I will bring a power washer and I will start power washing this kid right
Yeah.
there on the playground.
Yep.
And and if that doesn't work, I'll start power washing his parents. And the school will tell me to stop, and I'll be like, "Okay, well then you better do something about this, otherwise I'm not gonna stop."
We're gonna go
What are
back to
the
another Colin Farrell reference.
what are the police gonna do? Arrest me for, I mean, like, yes, I probably shouldn't spray kids with high-powered water, but, like, it's not really assault, is it? It's water.
I'm sure it probably is. I'm
As
sure
long
it probably meets
as
the
long as I'm not
statute.
within, like, 3 feet of them, like, if I'm just kinda, like, or like a spray bottle, just kinda follow around spray bottling them.
I'll bet you it still counts because if it was a spray bottle full of, say, urine, it would certainly count. And so I'll bet you that walking around spraying someone probably counts. But I think that would be how you
Why does it
escalate
have to
that
be
is
urine?
you get a spray bottle of urine and you spray him with that. That'd be way more effective.
No.
You do that once or twice, the kid's going to stop.
I don't know.
That's how I got the bobcat to stop snooping around my property. I went outside and beat on my borders.
I love how
I
you're
marked my
comparing kids
territory.
to dogs and bobcats now.
Yeah, there's a lot you can apply there.
Yes, there is.
Learning is
Uh,
learning, as B.F. Skinner would say. Learning is learning. It's the same for most animals.
well, that's true. I mean, like, but that's the thing, right? Like, if the jurisdictional authority doesn't do something,
Yeah.
everything else will fall into place. And luckily, I think we're at a spot where all of the I heard about this. You know, there's
Mhm.
3, 4 different families involved. We all know about it. I kind of said this reference the same thing to one of the other parents, like we'd take care of it if the school didn't, and they were like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like we're gonna like gang up on this kid. Bunch of adults are gonna like just
Yeah.
lambast this kid if we have to."
No, we had a similar experience with one of my kids a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and there were bullies involved, and the school wasn't doing what I thought they should do about it. And I went
Uh-huh.
in and had to sit down with the principal and spoke with him, and he explained to me that they were doing what they could within their power and according to their policies and blah blah blah. And
Right, the
I explained to
template
him,
answer, yeah,
right, and I
boilerplate.
explained to him that he was looking at this the wrong way. That what he had right now was an opportunity, and it was an opportunity to prevent me from handling it myself. And that if they failed to make the most of this opportunity, I was going to find a way to resolve this. And I wasn't just going to let these kids pick on my child without
Right.
fear of repercussion. And that, this was their opportunity to avoid me having to take actions into my own hands.
One,
And that was kind of the come to Jesus moment where they realized that how serious things were and how upset that I was. And things got fixed. I mean,
well, and double whammy, you have a chance to show other parents that you can take care of this.
yeah.
You
And that's
know,
what it would have been. I would have gone straight to the kids' parents, and there would have been, I've already used the term come to Jesus, but it would have been a come to Jesus talk. And I would have established boundaries and I would have shown them that the stakes were, in fact, high here, kind of as we mentioned a minute ago. I think that those are two
right?
very important parts of this. And that's what I would have done. So it never came to it, and things eventually got worked out. But I feel like it took that conversation for the school to realize how serious this incident was to us and to my
Mhm.
kid and to me, you know?
Yeah.
But that was how I phrased it. This is your opportunity to make sure I don't have an opportunity to handle this. And if you don't make something out of this, then I will take this into my own hands and I will figure something out without you.
This is like that Brad guy where it's just like, got a question. Did he start it or did he finish it?
I'm seeing him next month. I'm so excited. Brad
Yeah, that's
Williams.
right.
My
Brad
wife, my
Williams.
wife bought me tickets for Father's Day. He's coming to Foxwoods next month. I am so excited.
Nice. All right, let's get to dad jokes, get out of here. Somehow we managed to still do an hour plus,
Of
I
course we
think.
did.
Because I think, didn't
It's,
we started like an hour and 10 minutes ago or something?
I don't know. We
Whatever.
started recording an hour and a
Yeah.
half ago, and it took us a while. We started zooming an hour and a half ago. It took us a while to record.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If something bad happens to a Buddhist, do you think they say something like, Buddha woulda, coulda?
I hope so. I thought you were going with the Halloween style. I was gonna go ahead and tell a bad joke about ghosts. I told it a long time ago, and it still haunts me to this day.
Of course it does. But you never fear. I brought a couple Halloweeny things.
Ah, that's my guy.
What's a witch's favorite subject in school? We'll start out with the easy ones.
Oh goodness, a witch's favorite subject in school.
Mhm. You can do it. I believe in you.
Not history. uh, I don't know. What's a witch's favorite subject in school?
Spelling.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's good.
See? Yeah,
Okay, that's
thank you.
good.
Okay.
What does the ghost of a panda bear eat? I'll give you an easy one too.
I just, how do pandas fix into this?
This is
The
a good dad
ghost of
joke here. This is what you tell your kids and they'll love it.
bamboo.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Where does a vampire eat his lunch? Apparently, we're on eating right now.
We are. Where does a vampire eat his lunch?
Mm-hmm. I'll give you a hint. It's also sort of a school-ish themed, similar to where school lunch is eaten.
Cafeteria. Man, I'm just too tired. I'm just not there.
Clearly, but you are on the correct track. You're almost there.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's something cafeteria themed. I don't know though.
Mm-hmm. In
Go
the
for it.
casketeria.
Yeah. No, that's not so good. That's a little bit too far.
Fine, be that way.
Why do ghosts ride in elevators?
Because it lifts their spirits.
Very good.
Yes, man. This might be a
You
new
are on
record for me.
fire. Yeah.
I am. All right, last one for me.
Okay.
How do you fix a leaky pumpkin?
How do you fix a leaky pumpkin?
This is my favorite one.
I don't know. How do you fix a leaky pumpkin?
With a pumpkin patch.
Oh, that's good. That one I like. That's good.
Yeah, good too.
Why are ghosts bad poker players?
Ghost bat, because you can shoot right through them.
There you go. All right. You got them all. You're on
Man.
fire, man. You're good.
Wow, this is weird.
It's like a role reversal here. I don't think I like
was
this very
gonna
much.
I'm not sure.
Nope.
Could start like looking for things to fall on me outside. Like everything's just wrong right now.
No more recording after gym nights for me. That's just not going to work. This is weird. I don't care for this. We're not doing this again. All right. Hope everybody enjoyed some urban storytelling. Hope everyone enjoyed the dad jokes and the updates. We'll get to Bonnie Blue and the American content creator who's challenging her record in a very cheeky way. We'll get to that maybe next time.
Focus on cheeky.
Yep, that's the one. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully we've got a storyteller coming on the next episode. That's the goal. And we're hoping for some really cool, fun Halloween spooky stories.
Yay.
Thanks for listening.
Go Dad, go.
Go Dad, go.